Hey, welcome to the Story Studio podcast.
Why not?
Do you think people wonder who we are since we don't have an intro? We don't actually say who we are.
We need some zippy music. This is a show with Johnny, Sean, and Dave.
Ooh, I like that.
Oh, I like that. Can we just put like a backbeat behind that and use that exact one? Hey, Jim, if you're listening, I really want you to try to make an opening with what Dave just did.
No.
I think you have the chops.
Oh, Jim and I may have discussed some of those sorts of things in when you left on our call. We may have started talking about curating the show a little bit. So that would be actually
worst show ever. You know what I want? Okay, there's this.
Wait. Hold on. I just realized I forgot to start recording. Hey, welcome to the show. I actually forgot to start recording, so now I'm recording. So just pretend that the last 3 minutes.
Wow, there was some really good gems.
We said the best thing
we're the Story Studio podcast. Dave sang. Oh, we don't have Dave's anymore. Damn it! He was singing. We were telling Jim to capture it and put music behind it.
Dave's just sang the perfect new intro. Dave, will you try again?
Welcome to the show. It's your host, Johnny, Sean, and Dave. It's a little different that time.
It was better the first
time.
Jim,
so put like a cool backbeat behind it or something.
But we should. There's a scene in Deadpool 2 where there's like this big cinematic fight scene, and they're playing like the operatic sort of music, like doo, 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 but they have like holy shit, like they're saying stupid shit. We should do that for worst show ever.
Oh, I kind of like that, actually.
This is a fun episode because I actually don't know why the recorder doesn't seem to be working. So it looks like we might be using the Zoom video audio for this one, right?
Goodness.
Oh, well, that's good. We got Dave's original opening then. That makes me happy. I feel closure now. I feel we can
now people are going to hear and say, oh, they didn't really say anything all that cool in the first 3 minutes. They were lying.
That's okay. That's marketing.
Yeah, who knows? Oh, I had oh man, I sense a joke here.
Marketers are liars.
In the wrong hole. No! Which means that Jim's going to listen to the last episodes I recorded, and they aren't going to have any audio, and they're going to have to rip. Oh, it's a whole thing.
Oh, awesome.
Can we go back to me thinking that technology is smarter than me and be angry about it, or Dave bitching about his computer? You know, Dave, I know we want to get to our topic here, but I actually don't think we heard any bitching about your trip back from the summit. Did you have a totally uneventful trip back? Was it just like sunshine and roses?
I think you bitched about it last week.
Did you? I don't remember that.
No, not really. No, I just ran into some traffic and stuff. Nothing.
This is why I don't remember it. It wasn't memorable.
You didn't go through the cornhole that is Louisiana.
Where's the anger? Where's the fire?
No, it took like 20 hours. There was a few tense moments where it was just like really foggy and really dark, and I was just trying to get like a little bit further. I will say that my OCD just plays havoc with me on a road trip because I'll be driving on a highway and there'll be those like rest stop coming up in 1 mile, and they'll say next rest stop like 80 miles. So I'm like,
oh yeah.
Don't have to go right now, but I probably will have to go before 80 miles. So I should just pull over and go anyway.
Well, okay. Is there any point like in this long 20-hour trip where you think I should have flown? Or are you the whole entire time you're like, I'm really glad this was the right decision. I was going
to fly. It wasn't in the budget because
okay.
Uh-huh.
Right.
This is why we're not doing the summit anymore. It's budget.
Yeah, but now someone else is paying for it. Woo-hoo!
So, Dave, are you flying first class with like monkeys on either side of you?
Well, no, wait a minute.
On the way?
I flew first class anyway.
Wait a minute. So I was thinking about this, and next year, I don't know that there's a strict requirement that Dave has to go. So will you go if you aren't like because we were requiring you to go. We were basically putting you in King Kong chains.
I don't know if it's the same without me there.
Well, listen, he was just using the protest as an excuse.
I like Dave stepping into his space right now.
No, well, I mean, how many people came up to me and said, you're the only reason I listen to this fucking show. I hate listening to you guys.
Everybody?
No, not really.
So who's running the summit next year? StoryShop. Well, speaking of StoryShop, is there anything we want to talk about today?
That was really, really slick. Which
I better say really nice things, otherwise I'm what I do for my airfare.
Right. Right. They're going to be like, Dave, you have to fly but you're budgeted 16 cents.
Yeah, so we are talking a little bit about StoryShop
Cornhole
today.
Airlines.
And Dave wanted to know if he could shit on the software because we were gonna talk on it
Like as a product feature. Is that something you can do? Can you use it offline and can you shit on it?
And Dave wanted to know. We said, well, yes, we actually like the idea of you being honest. This is really a journey that we're talking about, but please have manners. Because
what?
you can
I've been told I can be blunt.
You can be blunt. Hey, remember that time when you told someone to shut up?
Yeah, that's awful.
Johnny, I have a story to tell you later.
All right.
You're such a dick.
So talking about StoryShop.
I don't think I'm the one who said shut up, though.
Go on.
So talking about StoryShop.
Okay, so
entire show out.
Yeah, so StoryShop launched. I want to say about a month ago. Is that right? 3 weeks ago, and it was a big day because we have been working on getting it just out the door for years now. And we had a version 1.0 a little while back that was it was a great planning tool, but it didn't take the ball all the way to the end. It wasn't a writing tool. And for sure we needed one tool because
it didn't take the ball all the way to the end, even with planning.
Right.
Even if because the addition of writer was actually kind of a late stage thing. We did the Kickstarter with the idea of a planner. That's what it was born as, a way to plan your stories. And then it was months later that we were like, well, what if we did? It was a marketing thing. What if we did a writer and we made it awesome, and then we could offer that for free, and that could be the freemium, and we could use it to sell it, and we could just make it better over time. But the even the planner itself was always stuck in 1.0. We weren't able to really kind of iterate, but that was an artifact of us handling it, Sterling and Stone being at the helm.
Right. I think the biggest problem with Planner as it was is that we could never use it internally simply because you couldn't comment. So as a collaboration feature, that breaks it for us, because if I give Johnny a story package, he needs to be able to ask questions specifically for any point in that story, where before it was comment boxes that would just pop up in the last comment made, at the top of the page, and it could apply to anything within the entire beads.
Which is really awesome when there's like 8,000 words.
Right. No, really. So
let me go look for this thing.
Yeah.
I would give Sean phrases. I'd be like, where I said this, search for it, and this is what I want to say about it.
Right. And it was really obnoxious. And the book that we were writing at the time was the most complicated thing we've ever written. And
perfect.
The point, right. Well, it was great for a lot of it. For my part of it, putting the story together, StoryShop did everything that we had wanted it to do. It was great. Then I passed it over to Johnny, and it was not as great because he couldn't leave me notes. So like the collaborative part of it, the planning part was fine. It was,
and the writing part was fine too. It was the collaborative part of the writing.
Right. As soon as I had to edit it, well, now I can't edit. Now I can't track changes. Johnny can't see what I'm doing. I can't leave questions for him. And when we're all done, we can't export to a real doc. There were just problems with it. But those were, ostensibly going to be solved with our new partners. And that was a year ago. So, we came up a year. The summit was actually a 1-year anniversary because that's where we met David and kind of put all of this into motion. So we finally, we had a long year. Okay, we're going to meet. We're going to, we would constantly put our lists up front as far as this is what we're going to work on as far as development, on and on and on. And then it's always been delay, because this first relaunch was the big one, the only one that really, really mattered, because from now on, updates are happening in the background. So for example, a new update that was really important to Johnny just dropped yesterday. And it's just like silently there. We can talk about what that is in a second, because it's an example of some of the things that are still kind of off about the software. But it was really important to at some point just say, okay, enough. Now we can get it out to market and can constantly update it, but nobody is waiting for the new version. And that's where we hit for a few weeks ago. But immediately it was like, well, crap. We still can't use this, which is really, really super frustrating for us internally, because we've been waiting for a really long time to kind of migrate over all of our writers. And yeah, Johnny.
Would you remember that meeting where they unveiled it to us and I was underwhelmed and I couldn't hide it and they could totally tell? That was fun.
Yeah. And
why you didn't let me on that meeting, I'll never know.
Well, because it's a fine line between, we know where it's going, we know this team, we believe in this team, but it wasn't where it needed to be. And so you have to balance having faith in the long term versus it's a little disappointing that I actually can't use it right now.
Right. And we've always maintained that we can't really beat the drum on this until we're using it and we're loving it, because that's just not that's just not the way we roll. And right now, we're not able to use it because it still doesn't have inline commenting, which is a deal breaker for us. And for me, the planner was broken, which was actually what this is all about. This is why we're talking about StoryShop today. So the planner itself was broken, which is kind of hilarious because neither caught it on either side. For StoryShop, they were focused on building the writer out and making sure that was really solid, a really good experience, really fluid. And they weren't really taking into mind that the planner as it existed was what a lot of original 1.0 StoryShop users actually had. There actually wasn't a writer, so that's what they were used to. And all of a sudden, that part of it was gone. There is no full planner mode in StoryShop. It's gone from being a planning thing with a writer component to a writing thing with a planning component. But the planning component is like the boxes are all way too small. It really isn't a planning space. You should have a dedicated planning space and then access to that planning space. So StoryShop, they didn't realize that was, a core thing. It's something that could maybe come later, but they weren't seeing it as core. Same with the templates. And then they kind of realized, oh, that's a huge deal. People really, really want that. And same with us. We started.
It's the main thing I want.
Right. Okay. Well, I can't use this. And so right away, and the planning feature, like I've been dying just to move our process over because, with a whole story room full of writers, we really should be on the same tool, and it really is stunting our progress that we're not. But even just on a personal level, the project that I'm working on right now is the one that Johnny and I flew out to LA to break the story. It's going to be a movie. It is very complicated, and it has all the things we need: character, location scouting, complicated sequencing. So it really is what this tool was built for, and I can't use it. I'm in Pages right now, of all things, which is just hilarious. I'm not even in Scrivener. So yeah, there are definite issues for it. But having said that, again, I totally see the roadmap, and I actually love that this happened because we got to have trial by fire and we got to actually see it on the ground. And the way StoryShop handled it, I thought was beautiful. Like I've loved everything I've seen from the tickets coming in and their response and how quickly they're responding and how well they're responding. So we had a meeting earlier this week where, we were just talking about what to do going forward and what to focus on. And they have a really big focus on obviously taking care of wherever the software needs to go based on the community going forward. But right now, for the next several months, they want all of the sprints to revolve around the original 1.0 users and what they had. And at first, when they were telling me this, I wasn't hearing it correctly. I was thinking, okay, what are the things that were missing from the software that we need to put back so that those people are really happy? But what they were actually saying is those people have supported us for the last few years on this whole project from the very first Kickstarter. So not only do we want to give them everything that they were wanting, but what are the things that they would most want going forward? So how can we please our original users above and beyond? So please come up with the 5 things that the software needs more than anything else. And I just thought that sounded like a really good topic for us. Dave could, publicly shit on our efforts,
Woo-hoo!
which he loves to do. And then Johnny and I could kind of have a serious discussion about what the things are, because I think we have a pretty good pulse on the users and what they want. And also we are the most aggressively wanting to use it in very specific ways that we cannot. So coming up with that list of 5 things, and we'll be talking to them later today, so we could take it fresh from our conversation right into what we're talking about with them and get some results, which would be awesome. So where do we want to start?
Visual is very, very important for me. When I'm working on a computer, my eyes get very strained. And I know I'm not alone here. And the bar at the top of that, the aquamarine logo or whatever, the banner, that's not a banner, whatever the
Header?
fuck it is. Header, yes. I used to design websites. Ha! So anyway.
That's where I learned the word.
So that color is so annoying. It competes with everything else on the page, so I cannot focus on the words because that is all I see, and it is annoying as fuck. I set it from version 1.0, even though it was a different aquamarine. I said no. What I want a different goddamn. I want no color. In fact, I want the ability to hide that. I don't need to see that. I do not need to see that branding in my face the entire time. I don't need to see that color. It competes with my eyes, and it's hard. It's difficult as hell.
I agree with the branding and getting rid of the bars, but I still think you're crazy as fuck being so agitated by this.
I'm not alone. I'm not alone. I've talked to like 5 other people in our company that completely agree with me on this.
Yeah, I think you're beating them up about it.
No.
Yeah, you know what I have
I'm
a problem with? I'm really all about Uber and Lyft. Like, it's really convenient, but sometimes they send me a car that I just don't like the color of it. And
no, it's
service and fuck their mothers, and I don't want anything to do with it.
It's not just the color. It's that my eyes are so agitated by it.
As agitated as Sean is by fuchsia or whatever that color was.
Oh, I know my fuchsia.
It
was the other one.
It's competing. It's causing an eye strain, and I think especially people that have like different vision problems, and I do have some vision problems. It's difficult. It's difficult to write in, and like, okay, with Scrivener, when I write, I don't use it at full opacity. Like, it's not 100%. It's a little too bright. The white and the black contrast in a way I don't like, but I also don't like reversing with black and white text. So what I do, very specifically, and I cannot write unless it's like this. I have like
precious.
Fuck you. I have a background image that I place under, because you could do that in Scrivener, and I set the opacity for the white part.
Naked?
Yes, it is. It's me and your mom. And I set the opacity for about 72%. Yes, big combat boots. And I'm wearing shoulder pads and a helmet. Okay. So I set the opacity. So it creates a very nice, pleasant experience for my eyes. And I'm able to write probably twice as long as I could if it were just black on white. So that is something I'll also want to do. But right now, that blue and white, it drives me fucking nuts.
Well, I imagine that I don't know this for sure, but I remember something about having like options to color at some point. But even so, I think that they'll just have a full screen where the whole thing disappears.
Yeah.
So,
well, go ahead. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Oh, the other visual thing is like when you pull up a character box. Like, that's one of my favorite things about Scrivener is the ability to create these characters, have character profiles, sheets, and you have the questions. You have all this stuff, and it's really awesome. You can keep track of everything, and that is the main thing I wanted from StoryShop. And right now, it appears in this little box. You can't adjust. The text is small for me. You can't adjust the text. The spacing is shit. Like, all of that right there, I can't work with it. It's like, that was so frustrating for me. I was like, I got to bounce out.
That was the main misunderstanding with this current build. So when we saw early mock-ups of this, there was a lot, especially after enough time had passed, and I could see frustration on their side, and we passed deadlines. It just got to a point where, okay, I don't want to mention anything that's not mission critical, and besides, they got it. Like, clearly there's going to be they're going to at least recapture what we already have. What we missed was they underestimated the importance of the planning only mode where there is no writing and it's not in a sidebar, to the point that it wasn't included. And that was kind of a just missed communication. And so, yes, that's tops on my list. Again, I'm a little unclear on what sorts of suggestions we're making, but that is tops on my list. But they know it. Like, that's the first thing.
Right. I'm not worried about that at all, because like a lot of the things Dave's talking about are aesthetics, which will get ironed out, as it goes on. But especially the size of those boxes, because what you're referring to, Dave, is the planning elements. But they can be that small when they're only reference points, when you're trying to draw something up.
You can't read the whole thing, though.
Not when you're trying to input the information. That's because it's not a creation environment. Like, what they need to do is create it so that you can input it all and then have access to it all, and then you should be able to scroll.
What you ought to be able to do is click on that and bring that up as the full thing, or make it like a separate window to the right.
You'll be able to.
Yeah, if you can do that, I'll fucking love it.
Yeah, well, he'll love it.
I know. I was surprised.
I don't have that many complaints about it, but the ones I do are very big to me. And
I'm glad, because the ones that you're mentioning so far, they're all like, oh, well, that's not even on the list. It's high on the list.
Yeah, what they did with the planner, if they had left the dedicated planning mode, I absolutely love what they're doing with the sidebars, because that was one of the frustration points for me with the version that we built. You'd be writing and you'd have to, like, okay, well, let me exit full screen mode. Let me click over to Beats. Like, it was really distracting. So the ability to pull in a bar and be like, oh, okay, that's the reference I need, is really, really helpful.
Yeah, they made it quick reference, which we really were missing, but
they needed to leave the mode that wasn't quick reference.
Yeah, right. But once that's synced up, I think we're great. So I would say, obviously, a full planner is number one on there. Here's an example of something that was off and that they've already fixed. This is the update I was referring to earlier that made Johnny happy. So they gave us, during our last walkthrough, several things that were just kind of off, and they were off in a specific way. They were actually off in the way that Dave is referring to, which is environmental. Like, okay, here's an aesthetic thing that it doesn't really change the behavior of the tool itself so much, but it does change the nature of the workflow. So what I mean is, like when if you work in WordPress, for example, it has like a real linear, like nonfiction way. So you press return and there's no indents, and then in between paragraphs,
blog post writing.
Right, blog post writing. So that's the way it was formatted. And Johnny's like, I can't write like that. Like, I can't. I need paragraphs. I need intents. It's fiction. It's not nonfiction. And they tried to explain, well, but it doesn't actually matter, because when you export it, it has paragraphs and everything. Well, it doesn't matter.
You need to see it.
You need to see it. And that's how writers are. And as long as
what you see is what you get.
Yes, exactly. And so writers, that's the way we think. And if we want to type, we want to see that, on the page. And so, but that was not something that was like, well, that needs to be fixed or we don't launch. Right. So we launched, and then that was just fixed yesterday. We got a note from StoryShop. Yay, Johnny has his indents, right? So now it's a choice. You can choose. And that's the kind of thing that will happen in the background just automatically. Obviously, online or offline mode.
Automagically. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You've never heard that?
No.
Yeah.
You know what's funny about that is that almost every time I say it, Dave will like say automagically. I've used it in copy, yes, and he'll comment automagically ? It's like Dave.
Well, that's because
I'm Dory.
You guys being in different generations, you being 38, him being older than that.
Yeah. So yeah, offline mode will obviously is on this list of 5, I would say, and that's. I don't think that is from everything I understand. Obviously, I'm not a programmer, but that could have happened even before we did all of this.
Every time we brought this up, they said that's actually not that big a deal.
Yeah, one of the things that was really, really hard was that we had to rebuild everything. And then we had to migrate the database. So those were really big, cumbersome things. And now that those are done, we can work on getting offline mode done. So I would say offline mode is definitely on that list. And then for me, this is the number one thing for me.
Offline comments.
Dave the Taper?
Yeah, that can come later. But inline comments, are so stupidly important. I cannot collaborate without that. It's been a deal breaker for a long time for me. So
and the ability to exclude them when you're doing an export.
Right.
Exclude or include, but I would say that because sometimes I do want them if I'm working.
Yeah, but like if you're making an ebook, you don't want
of course.
Well, of course.
We've had that happen.
Okay, so Johnny, does that count as 4 or is that 3? The ability to turn on and off comments, is that part of comments?
Included. The comments you aren't turning them on and off. You're turning them on and off at export. But in my mind, that's just bundled in, and it's the ability to because you should obviously be able to not include them because that's the kind of the standard. And I would say the ability to include them is definitely not a big enough thing that it would make my list.
Okay, so those are the big 3. What are 2 more?
What were the so offline mode, beats mode, and comments? I mean, I have one. I don't know if it's top for me, but I would like some flexibility in formatting. We've had this discussion before, but I think I want to push back a little bit more. I don't know if anybody agrees with me, but the mode currently is that there's. I mean, I understand because I think developers think this way, that the graphic user interface is a way of presenting what the database already knows. And I think that that's what you were saying. Well, like it doesn't matter during compile because it's going to be right. And it's just, this is how we're choosing to show it to you. But then we said, well, yeah, but it matters how you show it to me. So one of the things that does still bug me, and maybe I would get used to this, is so for instance, you can't add, you know how I do that thing where like it doesn't really merit a chapter break, but it's just like I want blank lines in the middle. And the way that currently is, it actually creates a new section and I see a new section, and that disturbs my mind. I want to be in the same document and I want to only see that document, and I want to be able to put blank spaces or indent or whatever when I need to do it and I want to do it.
Yeah, I agree that should come. I don't know that it's top 5.
Okay, well, I didn't have anything else competing. What else it makes your list?
Well, okay, so one for me, and this is probably in that same category as something that needs to come at some point, but probably isn't top 5 because it might be just a weird use case for us because we have so many users and using them in the same world. But I really want the ability to write with the door closed. So like anybody writing in a shared world can have their book in that world. And while they're writing a rough draft, it can stay closed. But then when they're ready for people to see it or share, they can like open it up. So like there's no privacy settings, essentially. If you're in a world, everybody can see anything you're doing at any given time.
And can they also edit it and fuck it up?
Yes, yeah, there's settings, but there should be, okay, so to Dave's point, settings per book, not per world. So right now you have read or write settings per universe, per world, but it would be ideal if, like Dave's not going to be comfortable writing in a shared world if anybody can go into his book and make a change.
Oh, no. That ain't happening.
But what I like about this is that we can continue to make little wish list items as we go. And they are iterating fast. I mean, that first launch and basically rebuilding the entire structure and migrating the database, that was a big deal. And some of the things that we have planned are also a big deal, but that's the idea. That's the reason we chose, a cloud-based solution that could be updated in real time, is that little updates will continue to roll out and we'll be able to influence those. So, things like toggle comments on and off or something like, we can say, well, that would be really useful. Can we add that? And then if the collective agrees that it's worth spending a little bit of time on, then yes.
Well, okay. Then in the spirit of less is more, less is better, that, we've been saying no, and trimming things down for a good year now, and it's really served us. So maybe that's what we say here. Instead of coming up with a list of 5 like we promised, we have 3, and they're really important. And when we get those done, we'll have another list of 3.
Yeah, I mean, in my mind, the planner mode, the offline mode, and the inline comments are for sure the top 3.
There is one other one that I didn't see, and I was wondering if this was a thing yet, but like draft versions or the ability to see who corrected or changed something. Because right
Track
now
changes.
I
don't know that
I
we
didn't see
have
that.
track changes, but I do believe we have versions, I think, or at least we did. Maybe it didn't come back. Do you know?
Well, because like when I went into a book that wasn't mine, I was like, wow, I could easily just like erase everything and nobody know A, that I did it, B, who did it, or what I did. Like,
or be able to get it back.
Right.
Okay, so version. I think there is some kind
Version
of
control.
Yeah,
Yes.
I think there is some kind, but we'll check on that. That's a good question. And if there isn't something in there already, I do think that belongs to be in the top 5. As far as comments, our track changes something that's different than comments, right? Like that's really
Track changes?
Yeah.
Very much.
Okay, so I would say that we have 5 then.
And
because-
track changes, the other reason that track changes, a robust version of that is going to be important is because once you can do track changes, you can start working with editors.
Oh yeah,
Right.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay, I think we have a solid 5 then, so we can bring this to them easily. So a robust planner, inline
Our
comments,
work is done here.
offline mode, version controls, and then what was the last one?
Well, I was just looking at that, and I had the suggestion of formatting. Dave had aesthetics. I don't actually think we have a 5th.
No, what it was the last thing we just talked about? Oh, track changes. Track changes.
Right, but that's 4. Track changes, planner mode, offline mode, inline comments.
And version controls.
Version control I had in with track changes.
Yeah.
Oh,
I would say it's the
okay.
same. Now,
Yeah.
visually, is there a way to just like have it? So I know it was talked about at one point long ago, but basically where the window exists like outside of the browser, or it just in some way that you feel like
You mean
you're
like
writing
a
an
native
individual app. Yes.
Yeah, that's something that it is on the planner. I'm not the planner because I'm conflating terms, but it is on sort of on the docket. But I don't think it's real high on the docket with these other competing things. But yes, a native app is definitely in the works, or considered, I should say. All right. So I guess, like Dave said, our work is done. Should we adjourn for the day?
Yep, that sounds good.
This all sounds magical. Like, yeah, if like I
wish
love
it and it shall occur.
I love the promise of StoryShop, and I was using it a lot early on for all that stuff, but then I couldn't write in it, so it wasn't working for me. So if they fix the planning and then I can write in it, I'm on board. I'll fucking love it. So
well, you're like Mikey. We need you to like your life, and then everything else works.
It should be shown to me first. I mean, really, you guys seeing this?
Terrible idea. That is just a terrible idea for so many reasons.
I am blunt, but I understand this stuff is difficult, and like I would like see. I'm blunt in a way because I feel like I'm not being mean, because I'm kind of like being a smartass and stuff. But I also understand, like, if I were working on something and I was showing it to someone and they were like this to me, I might get a little pissed. So I'm not trying to be flippant or, I realize
don't refer to the header as the cornhole of colors.
Yeah. Well, no, there's no way I'm not going to be a dick about the colors. Fuck that color. That color should just be wiped out of existence.
It really is. I wish I could remember
horrible
the name of the color, but Sean was just as pissy about a color that I had called the shoe on the cover of.
It was fuchsia, I think.
It was something that, because fuchsia is okay according to Sean, and I thought he's like, well, she would never get a shoe that color, and he was all angry about it. You don't remember the color? It's like fuchsia.
I think you just said magenta.
Yeah.
Magenta. That's what it was. Sean hates magenta.
That was my stripper name.
It wasn't that I don't hate fuchsia or magenta. I don't have strong feelings about either color. It was. We don't need to go into this now. We're done.
Dave has strong feelings on colors and
Dave has strong
ice.
feelings on everything.
Ice. Ice is very important to Dave. Sonic has the best ice.
Yes, Sonic does.
Sonic does have the best
Sonic
ice.
the Hedgehog. Okay, so
have you guys seen the the screenshots for the new Sonic the movie?
no,
Sonic
but I've been hearing from my son who is so vested in these things that it looks, quote, absolutely terrible.
Yeah, it does look absolutely terrible. That's all I was gonna say.
I like the change to Pikachu. They made him all furry and cute. I know some people fucking hate it, but I thought he looked cute.
Yeah, we made our family watch that and made hardcore fun of the trailer, and then found out that like everybody's into the trailer. They must have seen a different trailer than I did.
Sonic or Pikachu?
Pikachu. There's no Sonic trailer.
Well, there was a trailer that came out like a year or so ago for Pikachu, and I think like people are shitting all over that one. I think they made some changes. I could be wrong.
That's the one I saw. That's the one I saw.
Yeah, I think what's his face? Ryan Reynolds is
the
voice of Pikachu. Yeah. It wasn't.
Yeah,
I think it was somebody else before.
Which
they should have done Gilbert Godfrey.
I do approve of the choice. It's better than my Pikachu voice for sure.
Your Pikachu voice could be voiced by Gilbert Gottfried.
Yeah, good. Fuck that guy.
Yeah,
like
see?
Elmo.
It's very similar. It's in the ballpark.
Wow.
All right, so thanks.
We should
for
have
listening
left.
Thanks for listening to the story. I'm trying to end the show. Stop. Thanks for listening to Story Studio Podcast. We'll see y'all next time.
Peace out.
Bye-bye.